Tron Legacy was and still is a movie ahead of its time. A movie that transports you into its world through visuals, music, and aesthetics. A world so intriguing, with so much material, you'd be kicking yourself if you thought there weren't more sequels or spin-offs, right? Have you started kicking yourself yet? After Tron Legacy's released, the only thing from this franchise that came out was a Disney XD show called Tron Uprising, which essentially develops a lot of the history from Tron Legacy. Now, hand on heart, if you really like Tron Legacy, watch Tron Uprising. It's so good. It'll be talked about later in this video, but I'm being genuine. Go check it out if you like it. But after a sharp decline in viewers after the second half of the series premiered, the Tron franchise fell into sequel limbo for years. Again, until 2025, where Jared Leto is now Tron Ares. Let's just say I'm cautiously pessimistic. Today, I'm diving into the cult classic frenzy that is Tron Legacy. Its Legacy-sequel status to the 1982 cult classic film, how its subplots started an entire animated prequel project, and why this film is one of my favorites of all time, through its beautiful set design, legendary soundtrack from the goats of electronic music, Daft Punk, its unique aesthetic of course, and I also want to highlight the story, its symbolic references to creation and religion, and my response to critics being very divided on the film. So to all my Tron lovers out there, this is basically a full review of all things Tron. So welcome to all my fellow users, and let's enter into this program full throttle. Now, it's hard to talk about Tron Legacy without breaking down its big brother. Tron was a very technologically foundational film. It broke open the industry into an entire new way of filmmaking. I mean, this was back in 1982, when CGI was rarely used in the medium. This film catapulted the technology to create something entirely engulfed in CGI. The film built entire sequences around it. So it may not be a movie that started the trend, but it totally pioneered this kind of CGI for storytelling purposes. And that kind of influence and uniqueness affects people, man. I can't imagine seeing this movie in 1982 and not having this film be ingrained in my mind 24/7. It's an acid trip in film form. It's super unique. You've got very colorful and vibrant backdrops, visually stunning action scenes, and memorable character designs. Now, the characters may look quite haunting in today's standards, but hell, you can't not say it's unique. Plus, the movie has got this retro vibe that really sticks. I think the history behind this movie is fascinating, and learning about how they built these sets to capture all of this crazy CG shit is just out of this world, especially when you realize how tedious it was to do.
They filmed people wearing black and white costumes on a black background. They used Kodak Kodalith film, which is a hyper contrast black and white film. And then you could invert that and the black stripes would end up becoming white, and then you could backlight that, throw a gel on the camera, and get glowing lines that lined up. The problem is you had to cut out every single frame by hand. So literally, for every single frame, when people are in the world of Tron, there is a person who had to go through and cut out the person, cut out the eyes, cut out the mouth, cut out the face for every character on screen by hand.
So with all of these things being mentioned, it's not surprising to me that it was a huge cult classic when it came out, especially for the generation that came out with it. A movie that obscurely transformed the medium of film that is such an interesting idea, pioneered by a young live-action Disney studio that took risks. If it came and went, I'm sure the generation that grew up with it would have been content with having their little Tron movie and kept it pushing. But almost 3 decades later, when Disney had a spine and took risks just like they did in the 80s, they dusted Tron off the shelf and realized they could make a modern Legacy sequel with Tron Legacy 28 years later. And well, it became one of my favorite movies ever. And I'm hoping you're ready to find out why. Now, I think the first Tron movie is paramount in the Tron franchise. If you're a fan of Legacy and Uprising, you should watch the first one. But what I particularly love about Legacy is how it works as a continuation of the first film, but also as something entirely standalone. So when Legacy opens to Kevin Flynn narrating about the grid, what it can do, how he saw the world, within the first 30 seconds to this wonderful display of grid lines that eventually turn into city streets as Daft Punk's The Grid climaxes to the Tron Legacy titles, as the camera flies into the home at which he's talking to his son, mentioning disc games, grid cities, even mentioning Tron and Clue, two important people in the upcoming story, will color me crazy. Because I'm already sold. So after immediately being drawn into what seems to be this crazy, wondrous place, you get hit with Kevin Goes Missing. I particularly love how this is shown through this retro TV mist, almost vacant, empty space reporting all about NCOM, Kevin's message to creating the digital world, and his passion and obsession with his creation. This is simply a creative choice, but something I've always thought was kind of cool and ominous. Anyways, the film's main character is Sam Flynn. This is a generational film, so it follows Kevin's son almost 30 years later. Again, I like following the movie through Sam's eyes. He's new to Kevin's world, has never truly seen it, and has the lasting pain of not having a father for decades. Now, I don't have much to say for the opening of this movie following this, other than seeing Sam parachute off a tower is dope, and there casually being a Cillian Murphy cameo in here. That didn't go unnoticed. I cry knowing there's a Legacy sequel out there that focuses on him. Within this whole sequence, we see this man, Alan, a man also in the original film, who plays Tron 2, and he gives Sam the first real quest of the movie, the real kickstart action that gets the whole plot unraveling. And that's just getting him to his father's old arcade. But before we get there, Sam's house is insane. An apartment on the dock? How does one even acquire a house like this? My friends and I have always said a place like this is peak. Water views? The privacy? I'm sure winters there are worse than freezing in Antarctica though. I think Sam opening up this rusty Flynn arcade is so nostalgic even for me. As someone not a part of that time period, it's just so cathartic hearing the arcade games rev up to the beautiful song, Separate Ways, by Journey, blaring on full speaker. Oh yeah, Journey rocks. Eventually, Sam finds the secret tunnel to his dad's hidden office behind the old Tron arcade game. And I've also always wondered this too. Is the Tron arcade game connected to the actual grid, or is it a real-world arcade replica inspired by it? Because, like, I don't know who would answer this question, but if any of you know, please let me know. I'm dying to know. Sam finds the old computer his dad used to enter the grid, and finally, the movie sends a new generation into the grid with Sam. And immediately, the vibe switches. No more mute, green-grayish colors. Sam gets sent into a black room, lit brightly enough to see him, but he runs outside, and the only color we get is the white lights illuminating the grid until Sam sees his first recognizer. This hulking ship that's illuminating an orange hue to contrast with the blue, white, and black coloring all around it. The audience's first look at how monstrous these ships truly are. You're immediately flown over the grid after Sam gets captured. You see the beautiful architecture the grid has to offer, and it's so intricate. Like, this vivid world set inside a computer has all this creative sauce to it. It's just, I forget this was made by Disney sometimes. The costuming for Clue's army, the sound design on their voices, how each degenerate program that's been captured has its own look and vibe to them. And that's a compliment to making this world's programs fall into that factor of intricate personality. I'm so glad every program in the grid isn't robotic. Every program, even Clue, has their own weaknesses, passions, hatred, pains. It's cool to see. Hell, even the girl program's tasked with making Sam's battle armor have distinction to them, which, if I was in this scenario, my mouth would dry up and I'd probably get extremely sweaty and turned on. Something that's always caught my eye with this scene leading into the games that's captivated me for years but never caught until recently was this. Once Sam leaves the changing room and starts entering the Coliseum, the aspect ratio changes to a taller, more exposed one to get the full IMAX viewing experience of the games. I love this, dude. Locks me into the games immediately, and I love that the movie was willing to do this, highlighting a special part of the film that's really well made because, my god man, the games are beautiful to watch. I love the look of the Coliseum, how many programs are in the arena, the transparent match blocks containing each disc battle, Sam fumbling with the disc, figuring out how this game all works, the realization this specific program is one he had on his shelf, the particle explosions when programs die, all of this works so well. When Sam tries escaping, and the camera looks up at him from another program's perspective. The camera whipping around Sam as he hangs from one of the blocks. The wide shot that showcases all of the battles as Sam's escaping from Clue's perspective. Just really well storyboarded. Props to the entire team involved for this. This is a crazy poll, but I remember when this movie was coming out, there was a Flash game for this, where you could be a program fighting in disc battles, and My god. I played this game so much. I always thought Rinsler's first appearance was epic as hell too. Dude straight aura farms on Sam the whole time. The use of slow-mo as he dodges Sam's disc, the beautiful pan around the two, going blow for blow upside down. The face-off shot shown there too. And the slow-mo shot as Sam's about to get KO'd. Just bravo, Joseph, bravo. I'm very, very enthralled with Sam's first encounter with Clue. I love the entire scene and how it's presented, because at first, the orange-tinted room laced with guards and inner curiosity from Sam about who this masked man is very chill. The hum of the music is lost. It's a very locked-in sequence. And the aspect ratio is back to movie standard. Then the mask drops and it's, oh my god, CGI Jeff Bridges? Now I want to quickly talk about the elephant in the room. This movie gets a lot of flack for its shitty CGI Jeff Bridges face, but I think it works perfectly in this context. I like to think that Clue is everything Kevin is without the neurotic capacity to change his coding, age, and many more. He maintains Kevin's influence without the bodily change normal humans deal with. I mean, he's code. He's a computer program. I like it as this distinguishable difference that Clue looks kind of Uncanny Valley-esque compared to Kevin. I think this entirely works for me. But this is the first time we get to see the villain unravel his motives, and it's fun to see, because Clue slowly tears down Sam's walls a bit to just grow agitated of his rambling, to the great kicker of,
I'm not your father, Sam, but I'm very, very happy to see you.
And dude, this leads right into my favorite part of the whole movie. The light cycle race. It's no surprise that Joseph Kosinski was the perfect man to do Top Gun Maverick and F1, because looking back at this motorcycle sequence,
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
the sound design on the light cycle as it soars in the air and transforms out of thin air, and then as it takes off, the hum of the engine in the vehicle as it smoothly lines up among the other riders. Ooh! Yeah! Then the action and kinetic energy of the battle as it starts. I'm in love with the light cycle look, but those light ribbons, I love how they're almost transparent light, especially when it's covered in light blue or that orange coloring, straight eye candy. I'd like to mention that Clue's walkout to participate in this event is honestly top tier horror farming shit, because this man had fireworks, an entire arena glazing him, and an announcer walk him out like this. Bro was a man of theatrics.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
But yeah, this whole motorcycle back and forth is incredibly well directed, shot, acted. I love the shots of the bikes riding above a certain character, special effects look top of the line, and the tension is palpable. You feel destroyed when Sam's partner gets dissolved by Clue right after they work together. Meanwhile, Daft Punk's score is holding you hostage in ear bliss as their score is blaring in your ears as Clue plans to kill Sam right then and there. But all the intensity stops when this woman gets Sam out of the games. Boy, sorry, I just need a moment. This woman was my first love. Gushing over the first encounter Sam has with Clue was predominantly factored into the parallel it has with Sam's first encounter with his father. They're both similar but in complete contrast. They both open the same way, quietly, softly, no music, but contrasted in color. Instead of the deep black slit by orange, this room is engulfed in white, almost entirely neutral, besides Sam and Cora's black suits lined with blue. Sam opens up to Kevin and finally breaks down his dad's walls, why he ended up leaving. And this is where Kevin's psyche is completely broken down. How his obsession with creation led him to create a beautiful, fully operational utopia, but his ego and naivety got in the way. In a way, Clue was created out of Kevin's image, but not programmed to adapt to switching motivations. Kevin needed a partner to create the perfect system, but what are the barriers to perfection? So when Kevin reveals ISOs, programs not designed by hand, randomly appearing out of thin air, well, it's no surprise that Clue wouldn't understand how to see these beings other than as disposable. This whole scene is very well shot, acted, and the music intensifying as Jeff Bridges goes on and on about the revolutionary actions ISOs could bring to the real world is invigorating. The first shot of Clue in the backstory sequence, showing up in his orange outfit, complementing the blue world with his orange tint, was awesome. Clue defeating Tron, showing how strong he truly is and what he's willing to do to get his perfect ideal world. And Kevin's first realization that he screwed up and his actions have way more consequences than he was expecting was brilliant, especially seeing how Clue had an ISO genocide which Kevin couldn't stop. This scene shows how jaded, worn out, and cynical Kevin is from all of his trials and tribulations against Clue's army. He's tried resistance, he's tried an uprising, but nothing worked. Clue's regime still reigns over the grid.
We can go home. Don't you want that?
Sometimes life has a way of moving you past things like wants and hopes.
This line sticks with me because it shows how little positive emotions Kevin has for returning home and chasing after this basic portal in the sky. This is his new piece now, almost Stockholm Syndrome-like. He's run out of hope for a better day, until Sam's presence, even though young and naive, has that spark that Kevin needs to realize he can overcome Clue's actions if he tries. There's a real world to go back to after all, and all it takes is just getting to the portal. But it's only until Sam leaves for his own gain that his father realizes this, though. This whole backstory scene adds a lot of context to Kevin's system and its history, which this movie clearly set up with the intention to tell that history in more details in spin-offs. Which, fun fact, there is. And it's called Tron Uprising. Yes, we finally made it to this section of the video. I'm gonna break down a few episodes that add a lot of context to Legacy and how it amplifies an already great movie into a better one. I highly recommend you watch the whole show if you can. There's only 19 episodes, but it's very digestible, and unfortunately, is only one season. So it's not very long of a watch, but it's so worth it. It's so good. This show is a prequel to Tron Legacy, and it fills in the exact gaps that the sequel only hints at. It's the missing chapter of the grid's history, the story hidden behind Kevin Flynn's quiet admission to Sam.
So why didn't you fight?
He did.
Clue fed on my resistance. The more I fought, the more powerful it became. It was impressive, really.
Uprising is that fight. It's what daily life under Clue's dictatorship actually looked like. Random violence against innocent programs, propaganda, fear, executions, and one program's refusal to accept it. That program is Beck, the protagonist of this series, and honestly, my favorite character in the entire Tron franchise. He's not a chosen hero, he's not a user, he's a native to the grid, born in it, shaped by it, bound to it. His rebellion isn't fueled by destiny, it's fueled by loss. When Clue's army seizes control of Argon City, Beck watches his closest friend Bodhi get de-rezzed right in front of him. That single act changes him forever. Beck's story captures something that Legacy only hints at, and that's what it actually meant to live under Clue's perfect system. The cities are alive, but they're suffocating. There's glowing streets, intricate architecture, businesses, and neighborhoods that we've seen in Legacy just for a bit, filled with fear. Argon City is our first real look at what everyday life is like for programs within the grid. It's stunning. There's vibrant neon, brutalist designs, all contrasted against the darkness of the occupation's bleak orange coloring. But what really makes this show special is Beck's relationship with Tron himself, because Tron is still alive, barely. Severely injured after protecting Kevin Flynn during Clue's coup, he's scarred, exhausted, and haunted by failure. He can't lead another war alone, so he trains Beck, not just to fight, but to believe again. Their relationship forms the emotional spine of Uprising. Beck's transformation into the next Tron isn't about replacing him, it's about caring for the idea of Tron, the belief that one's program's defiance can spark a revolution. Tron's mentorship is as much about hope as it is about combat, passing the torch even when the flame feels almost gone, similar to Kevin Flynn and Sam in Tron Legacy. The show's first few episodes do a great job setting everything up. Episode 1 establishes Beck, his motivations, his friends, Mara and Zed, and the world of Argon City. We're introduced to Tesler and Paige, two of Clue's top enforcers, whose dynamic with Beck adds depth to both sides of the war. From there, the tension builds. Beck takes on the identity of the renegade, pretending to be Tron, and becomes a symbol of rebellion across the grid. The early episodes showcase this duality perfectly, Beck and Tron trying to restore freedom while the occupation fights to preserve Clue's illusion of control. Episodes 2 and 3 introduce Cutler, another program that believes in freedom. His story emphasizes one of Uprising's core themes, that rebellion spreads through belief, not orders. These aren't soldiers, they're just ordinary programs standing up against a godlike system. Episode 4 expands the world even more, exploring how Argon City literally keeps its lights on through massive energy drills. It's small details like this that make the grid feel real, like an ecosystem trying to survive inside its own code. Episode 5 dives into what happens when Beck loses his identity disc, essentially his mind and soul. Without it, he spirals into hallucinations and panic, and the episode becomes a psychological thriller. There's visual style, shaky cams, blurred POV shots, fragmented imagery, showing Beck's mental collapse. This episode also builds Beck's moral compass. He explicitly states,
I'm not a killer. I don't derez programs.
That line draws a subtle but powerful contrast between Beck and Sam Flynn, where Sam views programs as not real, Beck sees them as people. To him, derezing isn't victory, it's death. Episodes 6 and 7 flesh out Paige's character, and she's one of the most fascinating parts of the show because she's once a medic who helped Cora. Her early experiences with ISOs plant seeds of doubt in her loyalty to Clue. She's complex, loyal, compassionate, but conflicted, and her chemistry with Beck makes their rivalry feel deeply personal. As the series continues, Uprising explores Tron's psyche in devastating ways. Episodes like Scars dive into his relationship with Dyson, a former ally whose betrayal shaped Tron's mistrust and pain. We see flashbacks of ISO persecution, protest, propaganda, and even moments where Flynn's arrogance blinds him to the suffering on his own grid. Episodes 9 and 10 are especially powerful because Beck is trying to stop Tron from killing, fighting not just the regime, but Tron's growing rage. It's the clearest glimpse we get of the man who will eventually become Rizzler, and the series captures that moral decay perfectly. By episode 13, we're introduced to Cyrus, a former renegade trained by Tron who's twisted by obsession, mirroring how good intentions can curdle under pressure. His free the grid by destroying it mentality is haunting, and the show's visual style in this arc is nothing short of breathtaking. Cyrus's design alone is incredibly intricate and detailed. Episodes 14 through 18 continue expanding the Uprising. It shows smaller rebel groups, political unrest, and infighting within the occupation, building towards the finale like a slow, pulsing countdown. There are scenes showing programs being rounded up and gassed, or brainwashed through reprogramming chambers, stripped of their memories and individuality until they become lifeless servants of Clue's system. It's haunting imagery, especially for an animated series. The occupation enforces control not through logic, but fear, not through belief, but obedience. These scenes make the rebellion feel less like a political movement and more like an act of survival. The violence isn't stylized, it's methodical, and that's where Uprising quietly becomes one of the most mature stories in the Tron franchise. It doesn't romanticize the idea of fighting the system, it shows what that system does to the innocent and how it warps the people trying to fight it. The final episode, Terminal, is both devastating and beautiful. Beck faces the collapse of his movement, Tron is dying from his infection, his allies are gone or turned against him, and yet Beck keeps fighting. We see Cutler, one of the earliest rebels, repurposed by Clue, forced to betray Beck before taking his own life after Beck tries to save him. It's gut-wrenching. By the end, there's slight hope. Tron's survival is certain, and he's free from the virus holding him back. Beck's resistance filled Argonne with hope, and they're ready to fight with him. Yet, the show ends in a very melancholic way. Clue arrives, with hundreds of ships, ready to overthrow any rebellious activity and colonize Argonne once and for all. It's entirely depressing knowing all of this leads to the beginning of Legacy, where all of this rebellion led absolutely nowhere. That's what also makes it kind of awesome. Am I upset the show ends here with plenty of room to expand its story? Yes, but at the same time, this show answers a lot of setup Legacy provided, gives a rich history to Kevin's grid pre-Legacy, and fully completes the statement Kevin says by the dinner scene in Legacy with,
The more I fought, the more powerful it became.
Kevin saying this was more of a confession now. It wasn't just Flynn who fought, it was Tron, Beck, and the countless unnamed programs who resisted until they couldn't anymore. Tron Uprising is more than just a prequel, it's the grid's heartbeat. It gives faces, names, and pain to the victims of Clue's perfection. It humanizes the programs, explores the politics of rebellion, and visually expands the world in ways the films didn't have as much time to. It's a tragedy, yes, but a meaningful one, because in showing the rise and fall of the Argonne Rebellion, Uprising completes the moral circle of Tron Legacy. It transforms Flynn's philosophy from abstract to emotional, reminding us that perfection doesn't just corrupt creators, it consumes believers. The war for the grid wasn't just a fight for freedom, it was a fight for meaning, and Tron Uprising makes that fight unforgettable. I'm in love with this shot of Sam entering the city. Just reminds me how massive in scale this whole universe is. And if I had time, I'd want to explore the whole thing. The fact that there are homeless people on the streets, small roads leading to who knows where. Also, that there's a weather system. Like, what does rain's purpose serve in the grid? But Sam gets word that a guy named Zane is running the only transportation rig to the portal, so Sam needs to convince him to work together. Daft Punk cameo and a betrayal later, Zane was a lying prick. And I personally love how little care Clue's army and Clue himself have for even his own programs. Like, they burst through the ceiling, wiping out an innocent program without care. Kinda adds to the context that Clue is hypocritical in caring about his perfect programs too. But in the nick of time, Kevin's appearance in the club is godlike. All music stops, the camera focuses close on Kevin, hooded and kept to himself. Just beautifully done. That type of moment makes Kevin seem so powerful by removing all of the crazy brain-numbing stuff and just going silent, until he realizes Cora was injured in the battle. Cora is such an interesting character, and how this movie builds her up for this reveal may be predictable for some, but I think it enriches the Flynn's overall motivations. All this time, Cora's been with Kevin, and Sam hasn't even questioned it. But after being hurt in the club, me too, girl, I've almost lost my arm partying too hard to Daft Punk myself. Kevin has to heal her. It's revealed her coding resembles literal human DNA, and it's revealed she's one of the ISOs Kevin spoke of in his backstory monologue, as well as the few ISOs Paige treated in Uprising, and one of the few who survived the ISO genocide. Yeah. That's a lot. And all of this gives so much reasoning to her relationship with Kevin, how he feels connected to her for that special curiosity he has for what the positive things this type of being holds for the real world. But also Sam liking her before he finds out, but now feeling more protective to make sure she's safe, so his father's creation can also be safe. And after a few button pushes, she starts healing herself, like humans with their own skin. It's cool how deep this script is willing to go to relate programs or ISOs like humans, or at least when we're around Kevin's perspective. The calm, serene nature of the scene after this one is one of my favorites, because we get breathing room to see how Kevin and Sam feel about each other. Kevin letting his guard down and admitting his naive impression that perfection is a proper or obtainable goal, and how that one improper goal turned Clue into a monster in his world. The sea of simulation, this vast ocean being ridden over by this huge transport, it's just a beautiful scene, man. However, my favorite part of the scene is the calm back and forth between Cora and Sam. Cora fully reveals her near-death experience with Clue's army during the genocide, and how Kevin found her near dead and took her in. Now, another segue imminent. I've been dying to talk about this. This movie has so much religious undertones to it. A lot of criticism I've seen for this movie is that the story is basic or surface level when, like, what?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Kevin is a human who created an entire utopia by himself. Programs refer to him as the creator in almost a Christian-like God referral. This movie isn't specifically tied to any religion in our world, but the religious undertones are certainly there. The son of Flynn, for one, Cora's near-death experience, followed by the creator saving her life, the near carbon copy of God getting upset at not having the programming to understand change, so takes control and takes power for himself without oversight and causes mass genocide, the all-white coloring, the literal silver apple on the table in Kevin's house, the dual colored blocks on his shelf, the cloak in the club, Kevin being upset at his creation so he has to wipe it out. Y'all seeing what I'm saying? But eventually, the three of them get caught in one of Clue's ships and witness a literal authoritarian speech, with Clue's army looking like Nazi soldiers lined up waiting to hear their leader speak. I'd like to note at this point in the movie, Clue has Kevin's disc so he can transport between the real world and the grid whenever he wants. But this speech is so chilling, it adds a very threatening demeanor change to Clue, where we see his anger and passion for wanting to see Earth, the place his creator is from, and try to perfect that, which, with Uprising's context, is super dangerous because look at what he's done, or has shown he's willing to do, already. By freeing Kevin's disc from Clue's control, Sam, Cora, and Kevin race to the portal to return home and shut down Clue's coding for good. A beautifully choreographed aerial fight later, and the Rinsler, remembering his true programming, becoming Tron once again, and almost overpowers Clue, the movie slows down and presents Kevin with one of his first true creations in the grid, himself, but a version coded to perfect an imperfect system. I love how this movie ends. Its climax isn't some big CGI fight sequence, it's a confession of a humans' faults to a system not built to understand that. It's emotional poetry. An imperfect man realizing his imperfections is what caused so much pain in his own system, what hurt so many programs in previous cycles, and hopes that one final confrontation maybe will convince his first partner to understand his point of view. The music, the acting from Jeff Bridges, Garrett Hedlund, the CGI, and the environmental surroundings amplify this scene to make it hit you emotionally. I love how, after Kevin confesses to Clue his wrongs, Clue doesn't change, because he doesn't get it. It's like an emotional child having a mental breakdown. He feels betrayed by his creator for not agreeing with him. That it's come to this. The realization that both of these characters wanted to create a better world, but one was trapped in ego and naivety most of his life, ended up changing his perspective on things. But Clue is trapped with one goal: perfection, which has no end. Perfection is never reached, and his code traps him in that goal indefinitely. Sam has to stare his dad in the eyes one last time, as Clue stands up, blocking his dad, as Daft Punk's score hits like a truck once more, and then Kevin uses his power to destroy his own creation. The creator deletes the very thing he wanted to share with the world. It's an ego death at its finest. His obsession turned to nightmare is no more. The final 5 minutes of Legacy are a great endnote. Sam retains control over the company, Cora sees the sun for the first time, and the world is about to change just like Kevin wanted it to. It leaves the film in a state of inference. Maybe Cora did change the world. Maybe Sam and her lived together alone from human interference. Maybe Sam took over Encom and made it better, or worse. Who knows? But what we do know is that Kevin's arc fully completes. Sam's arc and journey within the grid changed him for the better, and Cora's world is now unknown territory for her. But that's what Kevin would have wanted. And what a better way to end a movie encapsulated in darkness, blue and orange, than by letting the yellow sheen of the sun coat the man and woman who just escaped said world of dark. Bravo, Joseph. Bravo. Tron is a franchise I will continue to love for as long as my heart still beats, my brain still functions, and my body breathes oxygen into these lungs every single day. Thankfully, Legacy's impact remains etched into my being, and if this video proved anything, is that I hope you've been reminded of how beautifully crafted, well-made, and truly breathtaking this movie is. And if it's your first time hearing this, well, I'm happy it came from me, because this movie is in my top 4 on Letterboxd. Tron Legacy is a film that catered to its old audience, while presenting a story that let a younger audience understand its universe with fresh eyes. This is a passing of the torch story done right, and it's a film that should never be forgotten. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Tron Legacy is one of my favorite movies ever made, and with Ares out, I figured now's the right time to shine some light on it. Let me know y'all's thoughts on the whole franchise in the comments below. If you've seen Ares, what did you think of it? Also, subscribe, like, and turn on noties, all that lovely stuff. Helps your boy out with the algorithm. And that'll be all from me, everyone. I'll see you all very soon. Peace out.